We're expecting some YouTube comment backlash after we praised the $3,000 Ibis Ripmo AF for being so affordable. We know that's a lot of money, but the real crime in labeling it affordable is that there's way more to this bike than its value. It takes the best parts of the Ripmo and adds a little extra attitude. It's perfect for the broad mix of terrain in Park City, Utah.
All right, Bible Bike Test budget winner from Ibis. Unlikely, but ride's great. $3,000, great suspension, great tires. Bit of a shock for me.
Yeah, when we chatted about this for a little bit, we're like, this one's going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be super easy. It's affordable and it's bitchin'.
It is. It's shocking. You know, sometimes you get on cheap bikes that ride good, and this is a good bike that just happens to be cheap. Does that make sense? You know, it's like it rides like a high-end bike. You don't really feel like you're making a compromise, and a big part of that is the suspension.
Yeah, they did focus on suspension on the spec on this bike. We applaud them for that, right? That was well done, and that really plays to the strengths of this bike.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Ibis took their Ripmo, which we rode last year in Utah and loved. It was definitely one of the favorites there. And they made it aluminum. They made it a degree slacker. They gave it a couple more millimeters of suspension in the rear, and called it AF, Ripmo AF. And yeah, I mean, it's like, you just look at it, it doesn't look like a low-end bike. It looks like it was built by the comment section. Like raw aluminum, threaded bottom bracket, DVO suspension. What more do you want?
Yeah, well, and not to mention, great wheel set, great tires. I mean,
You love the tires, don't you? Go on. You love them.
I do.
Yeah,
I do
too.
It's one of my personal favorites, the Essa guy from Maxxis. They just ride great, and then you mount them up to that wider rim from Ibis, and just all your contact points on the bike are just dialed. You know, you just feel super confident going down the trail, tons of traction, just a really balanced feel. I mean, doesn't feel like a cheap bike, you know?
We tested bikes 3 times the price of this, didn't we?
Absolutely.
3 times the price.
Yeah.
Isn't that hard to believe when you think about how good this bike is? And then this bike's 3 times the price here.
And those bikes are definitely not 3 times better than this one.
Not really.
And that DVO suspension, like it's got a full range of adjustments on the fork. The shock has a great feel to it. Ibis gives you a really comprehensive guide for setting it up on their website, gives you a good starting point. And so they can get the most out of this really sophisticated suspension. And it's paired with, you know, DW Link. It pedals so well. It pedals just like the regular Ripmo. I mean, you get on this thing, it's got the hover bike effect. Like, you're just sitting in the saddle, spinning, the suspension doesn't move. And all of a sudden you find a bunch of roots, and it's like the suspension reacts to what's happening at the ground level, but not what's coming from the rider. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, if you were new to mountain biking and you stumbled upon this bike, I mean, well done. It's you're winning. It's a great
definitely.
ride.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see these in demo fleets, you know, in some of the destinations across the country, and they should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a great bike to get someone on and get someone excited about mountain biking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's more. There's awesome upgrade kits for it. You can upgrade to a coil shock for what was it?
$100.
$100.
Yep.
You can upgrade the wheels to a carbon wheel set. There's a lot of stuff you can do. So if you are somebody who's been in the sport for a while and you kind of know what you want, I mean, you can be out the door with some customization on this as well. It's really cool.
Or just ride it for $29.99, right?
Yeah.
Come on, that's it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep, we focused a lot on the value, but that's only because of how well the Ripmo AF rides. For being such a practical all-around bike, it's remarkably good at both floating and charging when things get impractical.
Descending on this thing, I thought it was a blast. It's a 65-degree head angle, so it's not as slack as some of the bigger bikes we have here this year. So it's got a really nice, precise feel to it. The frame feels good and stiff, and it's like lively and fun. It's a bike that I could imagine riding just about anywhere. On our long travel loop, I would say it felt a little more nervous on some of the really steep stuff compared to the bigger bikes we had, but of course.
Agreed, yeah. Weren't you saying that you maybe would have preferred a degree slacker off the front, right?
Yeah, but that's like specifically on the terrain we were riding here.
Yeah.
I think if I were to take this bike back home to New England, I'd love it just as it is.
Yeah. Just really confident, really sure of itself. And I mean, rides like an Ibis. just without the
Yes,
price
without
of an
the
Ibis.
price. I mean, is it little? It's kind of it's out of character for him a little bit, right? I mean, they dropped a video with a BMX pro riding it in an urban environment. I mean, it's cool, right? I mean, it's
Just
like
to
a
announce,
whole,
hey, we're doing it different.
yeah, we're totally doing it different.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're clever over there, those Ibis folk. I do like it when a company has extra small. It's not labeled extra small, it's labeled small, but it's a 14, you know? My wife's 5'1", barely, and so I'm always paying attention to the smaller sized bikes to see what would be good for her. And this is one, and she already likes the Ripmo, so for smaller riders out there, there you go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
it's pretty sweet. You can recommend this thing to just about anybody.
Yeah. Now, who is this bike for, you think, guys? What do you...
I mean, I don't know if you guys are the same. I always get the question, you know, people that you meet or they know you're into mountain biking, hey, I want to get a bike. What should I get? And it's a bit of a conundrum all the time because you know, like you kind of get into this price point and not everything's a winner. And I mean,
Yeah.
this is a bike you could confidently say, hey, look at this, and you're going to be happy and it can grow with you. I mean, there are a lot of parts you can look at upgrading down the road, but out the door, you're in it. You're a mountain biker right out the door.
Everything works, you know, it's a spec that reflects the price. It's like, you know, except for the suspension, we thought maybe that looked a little bit more than what you'd expect at $29.99.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree?
For sure, yeah. Beyond that, you know, it's got guide T-brakes, which, you know, the levers are pretty basic. You know, they can't take a matchmaker clamp, which means that you're a little limited in terms of your cockpit setup. And then the dropper post on this bike comes with sort of like the old style, like top of the bar, push down with your thumb type lever, which was a little antiquated feeling, but you just can't complain at this price given what you're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I look at not just new riders, but younger riders, just young shredders that just need something that's just up for a beating.
Yeah, and also, as we know, there are people out there that have a little carbon anxiety, right?
Absolutely.
Well, here's your bike.
Yeah, or the
Enough talk.
$4,000 SLX build, which
Yeah.
looks really, really good. Comes with a bike yoke revive dropper and yeah, dialed.
Yeah, a standout for me in the whole test. It's really cool to see a bike like this where you don't feel like you're making any compromise when you're looking towards performance and fun on the trail.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
We kept saying there was no compromise on the Ripmo AF, but maybe we shouldn't have expected any. In Ibis's hands, DW Link tends to be particularly magical, and the Ripmo platform has its own magic. It's missing the point to call the Ripmo a good value. It's just a good bike. We've got the written review and the rest of the Bible videos at bikemag.com.